Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm FlyLover737, and today we are taking again our Xplane 11.50 final release on this short trip from Tampa to Miami, Florida. The aircraft is being loaded up, and today flight time is estimated in about 50 minutes. We are currently using the latest version of the 737-800 Zibo mod in Xplane 11.50, which is release version 3.43.13, which has been just released to fix an issue with the FMC that was quite often upon a freeze during the last update. Let's assume that we have completed our outside check, ATL check, and everything is fine. The aircraft has already been refueled, and let's jump into the cockpit. Okay, here we are, and taking a look at our EFB. We have our flight plan up here from Tampa to Miami. Date is today, 12th of September 2020. And we've got flight plan 1, which is the first release of the flight. Just going a little bit through it to see if there is anything important to check or to take into consideration. Top of climb flight level 310, very short cruise segment, and then will be the descent towards Miami. Here we have the second page. We have a payload of about 31.2 thousand pounds. Cost index is planned at 40, and we have an average wind 102 degrees 7 knots. Average temperature deviation is +16, pretty hot. And we are planned with on alternate, which is actually Orlando, quite far away, 41 minutes, but it's forecast to be rainy and stormy in Miami this evening, so we have taken a little bit of extra, like 4,000 pounds extra to go there, and then we come out with a release fuel of about 15,500 pounds. On top of that, I have added around 1,800 pounds extra, so we ended up with a final figures of 16,800 pounds total in the end. And then let's have a look here. It's gonna be parked at gate Foxtrot 81, expected arrival at gate Alpha 34, American Airlines terminal north and south of Miami, and departing time 10:19, so let's hope not to be too late. And everything is checked. As you can see, the weather is pretty crappy for Miami, especially at the moment. We have gusty wind coming from the sea, a light rain, 26 degrees, but is expected to be even worse, like gusting up to 40 knots, with like really bad visibility, heavy rain. And that's why in this case was mandatory to have Orlando as alternate, because it's like having the best weather, even if it's expected to be gusty, possibility of showers of rain or thunderstorms in the vicinity. It's quite the best option we have in the area. So with no further ado, let's have a look at our power up. So today we are going to run through all the process of the pre-flight cockpit preparation and everything that is needed to run a complete flight on the 737NG. So let's start. Battery, ground power. We have a good battery voltage, 29. Ground power is good for us, and then we go up here. IRS is into nav mode. We have 6 minutes left to align, and here we go. Back. Yaw damper, checking the crossfeed valve. It's dim, so it's working. Bright, it's moving. Dim, and then now it's completely off. It's shut off. So that's good. Adjusting some lights, chimes. The aircraft is already refueled, so actually we can turn the fasten seatbelt signs on, and Tremere, first flight of the day, let's put them on around 9 o'clock position, expecting flight level 310 and cruise, and landing altitude elevation of Miami is about ground level, so I'm just taking it 0. And engine start to the left igniter and steady light on. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Open the overhead and checking oxygen. Yeah, it's good, and as well we have good pressure up here in the bottle. And then we have a little bit of settings here. Altimeter now it's 2983. 2983. We have an expected acceleration of 800, so let's go up to 830 baro. 830. Yeah, here we go. Flight path vector because I like it. Airport because I like it. Flight directors, and yeah, let's have a look at our expected departure. It's gonna be gone the 8th departure. It's on RNAV SID with vectors, and here we go. As you can see, sorry, I have pressed the wrong button. Okay, here we go. Tampa, plates, airport, and this is actually where we are at the moment. At airside Foxtrot, parking Fox 81, we are planning for a departure runway 01 left using full length via Whiskey 1, and then we are using the Gandhi 8 departure, which is here on plate 20-3 Charlie, effective 5th of December 2019, as an RNAV SID, and radar required. And runway 1 left, 1 right, expect left turn to Gandhi, and turbojets only. That's good. That's for us. Tampa departure 1965, and from runway 01 left we expect to fly heading 003 and expecting a left turn towards Gandhi. Then we leave Gandhi inbound Pairs, and then from Pairs to Mardo, Mardo to Sabi. With a top altitude of 6,000 feet, and the SID has got quite a lot of obstacles, like 01 left says standard or lower than standard if authorized, minimum climb of 500 feet per nautical miles to 3,800 feet. So that's good. It's about like 1,250 up to 1,700 feet per minute, so we can do it without any problem today. So that's our departure. Let's assume that is discussed already now, and that we got already our PDC and departure clearance. So let's go back here and continue our cockpit preparation. And some tests down here for the fire. As you probably have seen in my previous videos that were dealing about just the pre-flight and cockpit preparation for the 737-800, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We have no frequencies for the departure, and I'm just taking as a reference the ILS runway 1 left in case something happens. The weather is not perfect, so we just want 108.9 as ILS. 108.9 and yeah, 108.9. It's good also here, and in the VR we want St. Petersburg 16.4. 16.4 is good. 16.4. Sorry. 16.4. Good. Perfect. Now we are dealing with good frequencies. And then, yeah, let's talk about the FMC and the setting for it. So, ARAC is fully up to date, valid until 7th of October, so no problems. We are in Tampa taking position from the left GPS, routing from Tampa to Miami, and our route number is 01. Here we go, activating. Flight number is American 2584, American 2584, and departing from 01 left, full length via the Gandhi 8 and Sabi transition, arriving into Miami, expecting an RNAV 08 left. It's going to be interesting as well because it's going to be an RNAV approach via the I think it's going to be the Cyprus 1, yeah, Cyprus 1 arrival from let's have a look. Cyprus 1 arrival from which one was it? Berry. Yeah, so in this case we're gonna fly it from Sabi, and then from Sabi we are just yeah, just flying to Cyprus. So that's good like that. Berry, Cyprus, and then these whoops, warp, and then we're gonna do the RNAV 08 left. Yeah, that's good. Some weight info, 126.2, and I guess it's matching with our 126. Yeah, and then we have 16,000 pounds of fuel, which gives us about 141.6 as a release weight. So that's good. It matches. And reserves, according to the operational flight plan, we've got about 3.5 of reserve to the 45 minutes FAR reserve, and then we have about 4,000 pounds to Orlando. So 7.5 is our reserve today, cost index 40. Cruise trip, we actually have flight level 310. We just type in 310 and see what's gonna happen later on. Wind 102 degrees at 7 knots. Temperature deviation is going to be plus 16 centigrade, and that's it. So we have a gross weight 143,000 pounds, which is pretty close to the operational flight plan, plus minus last minute changes. So yeah, we said about 143,000 pounds. So we go into our takeoff performance calculator. I personally use TopCat. I think I have already mentioned it before. Runway 01 left in Tampa with about 143,000 pounds. It was 143 in real life. What we do is to add 1,000 pounds or 500 kilos on top of this, but in the simulator there is no real need to do that because the weight that we are using and seeing are actual weights. So good margin for a takeoff 2, TAS 40, flaps 1, trim 21.4, sorry, CG 21.4, trim 575. Speeds we have 146, 147, and 151. Good. Page 2, I always forget to do it first. It should be done first according to SOP, but I'd always forget. 800 feet acceleration, wind is calm, so we can skip it. V2 151. In the meantime, we can just start the APU to save some time. And we set the top altitude of 6,000 feet for the Gandhi 8 departure. Perfect. And 003 is our initial heading, and I set also 003 on both courses. Great. That's good. We have no special single engine procedure for this runway, so we just expect radar vectors flying straight ahead, and then we'll see what ATC is gonna say. 535 trim. Yeah, something like that. APU is coming up in a very, very short while. In the meantime, we just drive away all the ground personnel. Perfect. APU is online and timing for 1 minute. And yeah, in the meantime, we can close some doors, make some announcement.
Lee Shaman, front flight deck, we'd like to add a welcome board. Anticipate possibly some light bumps or...
Of course, it's going to be some light bumps in departure. We have quite turbulent weather outside.
You know what that ride's going to be like before they get up. Also
of course,
would remain in our seats
yeah.
during that time. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for being with us today. And we're going to depart in heading select and VNAV, of course. Almost 1 minute is there, so we can also go ahead and release the jet breach, close the main door. 1 minute we have going up, giving some air to the passengers, and as well starting with our flow, as well as calling for the pushback truck.
Hey Captain, let me know where you want this thing.
Yeah, we're gonna do something like that as pushback.
Great news, Captain, your tow's coming.
Great, thanks a lot. The jet breach is removed, APU is running. We just need to remove completely all the ground personnel, and it's going to happen in 3, 2, 1, and now. Quite quick disappearance. The pushback truck is coming. Great. Of course, that was supposed to start with some boarding, I forgot, but we are already ready. So here we go. Quite fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, the boarding door is now closed. Flight attendants prepare doors for departure. Cross check, verify straps, stand by for all.
Alright,
all those are
doors
closed.
and hatches are closed and we're ready to connect.
Perfect, so let's assume that the pin is inserted. The flight attendant says, okay, everything is good. Closing the door. And the cockpit door as well is closed and locked. So now we just go with ELEC 1, ELEC 2. Perfect, everything is coming up and good. And we can run through a nice checklist, which is actually, yeah, these are not exactly the checklist I'm used to. I'm just trying to pick up a checklist I'm used to that I'm using in real life.
Go and kill the parking brake when you're ready to
and
go.
then in the next video I will also try to insert this kind of checklist in the sim as well. So the first checklist is called pre-flight checklist. So let's put it away and let's do the pre-flight checklist. So we have pins and covers removed, oxygen tested 100%. Nav transfer and display switches, normal auto, window is on, pressurization mode selector auto, flight instrument, track 113, altimeter 2983, reading 30 feet. Parking brake is set, engine start levers are cut off, taxi and takeoff briefing completed, fuel 16,800 pounds, and we have 4 pumps on. Passenger signs on, auto brake, RTO, CDO pre-flight and ACARS completed. Takeoff speeds V1 146, VR 147, V2 151 and MCP V2 151 heading 003, altitude 6,000 feet. Pre-flight checklist completed. Let's go ahead in the before start checklist. The flight deck door closed and locked. Doors and windows closed and locked. Anti-collision light on. Transponder set. And rudder and aileron trim is 3 and 0. Before start, checklist completed. So let's go ahead and kill the parking brakes. Timing, parking brake released, here we go.
Here comes the pushback. Light them up.
Perfect. Good 3 minutes ahead of schedule, which is good. Or 2 minutes ahead of schedule. Perfect. So let's start engine number 2. Start engine number 2. Waiting for 25% N2. We have N1 rotation, very important for the progress, good progress of the startup sequence. 25%. Fuel is on. Now, very important is to monitor EGT ignition within 15 seconds. We have it, even if I didn't time it, but we have it for sure. So let's observe that the EGT is now not increasing too much. And yeah, now looking back into the N2, waiting for 56% when the start valve goes out and it's started cut out. So let's go ahead and repeat the same for engine number 1. Start engine 1. N2, monitoring. Actually, we have a quiet startup sequence in my company. We don't call out any trend unless it's something which is abnormal. So we have as well N1, waiting for 25, fuel, waiting for EGT, ignition, and now waiting for 56% and 2.
Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake.
Perfect. Guys on the ground are done. So setting parking brakes. Here we go.
We're disconnecting the tow.
Started cut out.
Give me just a moment.
We had 2 good engine start. Thank you very much for your help. See you at the left hand side with the pin. Have a great day. So in the meantime, the first officer is doing this flow, starting from the generators, going up into the probes, air conditioning, engine start switches, oh sorry, wrong side, and APU. In this case we don't need it, so let's turn it off. Great, back to the system, waiting for the tow track to disconnect. There they are.
And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the left. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, you too. Here they go. So flaps 1. Waiting for his wave to show us the pin and say, hey, the gear is free to rise, to move and to rise. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do some flight controls checks now. In this aircraft we have flight controls indication in the cockpit. In some other 737 these are options, so you actually have to potentially look outside to the ailerons or just feel everything into the control wheel, and then blank the lower display unit, and let's go ahead with the before taxi checklist. So generators, sorry, on, ProBeat on, anti-ice not required, off, air conditioning and pressurization packs auto, isolation valve auto, engine start switches continuous, recall checked, engine start levers, idle detent, flight controls were checked, ground equipment is clear, flaps one planned, one green light, and APU is off before taxi checklist is completed. Perfect. So now let's assume that everything is done, and let's start our taxi. Request taxi, and off we go. Parking brake released, taxiing out. And we just need to taxi straight ahead, join taxiway Whiskey into Whiskey taxiway southbound, join Whiskey 1 holding point 1 left. It's gonna be pretty short taxi anyway. And it started to rain, of course. I told you, really bad weather around the area. This is pretty intense sector, I think, because now with this I think everything might change in our takeoff performance and calculation and consideration. Of course, first consideration, takeoff alternate if we need something. If we cannot return back to Tampa, we go to Orlando. Orlando seems pretty fair weather, nice conditions, so we keep Orlando. In a second instance as well, Tallahassee or even Jackson can be another good alternative for a takeoff in these conditions anyway. But now let's assume that a new 80s has come out for sure. A new 80s is out, and let's see what it says. Okay, I've just downloaded the latest 80s for Tampa, and it says now wind is 120 degrees, 11 knots, gusting 25. So it's much more important to use runway 19, because actually the wind is coming from southeast. Visibility is just half mile, heavy rain, even though there are no CPs in the area. So what I would do in this situation, since we have quite a long runway and quite a light aircraft, is to do another calculation with this new weather data and see if we can accept the tailwind component. But anyway, since we have gusty wind, I will not use a derated takeoff. I most probably in real life would use the full takeoff power, just to be sure to avoid even some kind of possibilities of wind shear. Okay, so let's see what it says in this kind of conditions for our takeoff from runway 1 left. Okay, let's see it. It says that we have still good stop margin. We have about 478 meters stop margin using runway 01 left, which can be increased up to 900 meters if we use a non-derated thrust. So that's exactly what I'm going to use and to do. I will use still runway 01 left, also not to put the ATC in a very uncomfortable situation. This is not really marginal, but I would definitely go for full thrust. So let's just reach our holding position, and then we are going through the FMC again and perform our changes. And of course, in my company we do have also special checklist for this kind of procedure, just not to leave anything to the fate or by chance. So here we go, approaching 01 left, holding short to the runway. Here we are, taxi light off, parking brake on, and we are running again here into the FMC, going back into the index performance and one limit. I just delete the temperature. Of course it says verified takeoff speeds because they should be deleted in real life, but now I'm just leaving D-rate takeoff 2, but no assumed temperature, not any longer. Everything stays like that, and of course the speeds are different now. 138, 147, 151, and now we have some kind of wind like 120 at 11 knots. So very good. Of course this V1 takes into consideration the wet runway, but we are good to go runway 01 left anyway. Okay, so let's run through this SID runway or intersection change. So it says FMC, TODC, flap, derate and stub trim updated, and they have been updated. Radios and takeoff briefing is set and completed. Takeoff speeds, now we have 138, 147 and 151, and MCP says V2 151 heading 003 and altitude 6,000 feet. So the checklist has been complete, and we can now accept the departure. So cabin is ready, and we have been cleared by the ATC for lining up and takeoff runway 01 left. So let's go with it, let's go for it. Captain takes care of the exterior lights. First officer switches the strobe light on. Cabin is being advised like that. Cleared for takeoff. Very important to have a look with the weather radar about what's going on up here or around the airport. Not really big activity of CBs, but some of them are there, are present. So yeah, let's go with the before takeoff checklist. And flaps, 1 planned, 1 green light, stabilizer trim 5.75 unit set, and cabin call is given. Before takeoff checklist is completed. Off we go. Timing. Stabilize this guy at about 40%. Setting thrust. Thrust is set. We have good acceleration right now.
80 knots.
Wind is coming from the right. Aileron into the wind. Quite good deflection.
V1. Rotate.
Let's rotate. Smooth rotation, aileron to the wind.
Rate.
Positive rate, gear up. Okay. Smooth and nice. Let's go back into the flight directors.
400.
Yeah. And here we go
1,000.
with acceleration. Very nice. Command A. Let's turn off these wipers that are no longer needed. Let's accelerate. Okay, flaps up. We can continue on this track for the moment. but now we just turn to the left and heading to 70. Perfect. Flaps up, no lights. This is still first officer flow. Perfect. Let's climb a little bit more. Assuming 1000. And now we set also down here a full climb thrust. We want full climb to go up without restrictions. This seems pretty good to me. Temperature is nice, still well above conditions of ice. So this sounds pretty good. Very nice climb out. Unfortunately, the weather is not so good to enjoy an outside view. We are climbing quite fast, we are light, so let's turn south. Heading 155 should be enough, and then we're gonna just to proceed at it Gandhi. Let's climb a little bit more, let's say flight level 220. Temperature is still good, above 10 degrees at TAT, which is our ice condition margin. Pretty good. And we are approaching 10,000. We try to avoid all the CBs, so maybe we just stop the turn on heading 160 just to avoid this guy here. We just use some speed intervention to 80, not to accelerate at full speed, just to get out of the cloud as soon as possible, as fast as possible. And then we just fly direct Gandhi with LNAV. We have passed 10,000, so lights off, but we just wait for the signs. This is definitely not the kind of weather in which we should turn the signs off. Definitely not. This sounds pretty good to me. Good conditions, good avoidance for the moment. We just declutter a little bit the navigation display in order not to have too many infos there. And we can have a look about our cruise. 310 sounds really nice. We have a little cruise segment, so we can climb all the way up flight level 310. 310 set, and then we have it once, 2, and and 3 times up here. 310 is set. Still monitoring closely the CB's activity, and we can run through an after takeoff checklist. So we have engine bleeds, engine bleeds on, packs auto, landing gear up and off, flaps up, no lights, and altimeters. Standard passing flight level 160 now, and after takeoff checklist completed. Very nice. Perfect. Up we go, and now it's a good time for flyby. Very nice indeed. Still have some problems with these flickering clouds, but yeah, it looks good indeed. We have passed Gandhi and now going to Pears, continuing our climb out. It seems that no CBs are present on our route towards Miami, but of course we have a very limited range with this weather radar, and as well with Xplane weather, but yeah, we'll see. Now I am out of the cloud, so I can just close the speed window and resume the FMC speed. So the aircraft is also accelerating back to its commanded 294 knots of climbing speed. But let's have a look at the arrival weather for Miami and see what it says. Yeah, it says still wind 130 degrees, 17, gusting 25, 8 miles visibility, light rain, scattered 1900, broken 2700, overcast 3800, 27 degrees, altimeter 2979, and parallel approaches in use. Arrival expect runway 8 right, 9er, and RNAV GPS runway 8 left. Runway 1230 is closed, so that's more or less what we had also before in our first look of the Miami 80s. Just to be ahead of the game, we can have a look at our arrival airport, Miami. No weather information available, it says, but I don't know exactly why it's not able to download the weather. Anyway, our arrival is going to be the Cyprus 1 arrival, flying direct Cyprus VR, and then we're gonna fly to Deeds and to Warp with this kind of limitation. We have Miami International landing east, turbojet, expect 10,000 feet and 250 knots by this point, and then we're gonna fly to Dolphin VR, but of course we expect radar vectors before Dolphin to fly this RNAV GPS 8 left, which is on plate 12-1 at 7th of February 2020. As you can see, it's a straight in approach, no turns from Vikuf to Castille, and 3 degrees glide down to the minima. And in American Airlines, if I'm not wrong, they can fly down to localizer path vector minima. In my company, we are allowed to fly only to the LNAV VNAV minima, not below, in this kind of approaches. But yeah, we have the requirements for the moment, because it's required to have 1 mile visibility, and we have like 8 miles at the moment. so it works. If if the visibility is dropping again, or dropping like it was in Tampa, then we will revert to another procedure like an ILS 8 right or runway 9. And then we are going to park here at the expected arrival gate at Delta 34, which is down here, Delta 34 here at Concourse Delta, American Airlines Concourse Delta in Miami. So we're gonna land up here and then vacate to the right, cross runway 8 right, and then most probably by a mic. And November 4 we join Delta 34 parking. Yeah, good. Let's see our climb, how it's going. Almost there. Approaching flight level 310. And then the next thing I'm doing to be ahead of the game is to cross-check the plate route with the FMC, actually, with the planned FMC route, to see if there is any point that is missed or is having the wrong altitude or speed constraint. Or something else like that. Very nice. As you can see, our descent is starting almost exactly over Cyprus. VR.
1,000 to go.
Oh, sorry, 1,000 to go. My mistake. I have been distracted. Vertical speed plus 1,000. Not to trigger any TCAS warning with traffic above. Even though we don't have any traffic today, but it's always a very good practice to do. And let's see here, we have a 0.77 cruise. Yeah, it looks nice like that. So waiting. Now we are waiting as well for the FMA to change in FMC speed and VNAV path. And waiting for that. Alt acquire. Now going back into VNAV, and now we have FMC speed and VNAV path. And 0.78, yeah, 777, which is 0.78. Goody. So now to have more margin on turbulence weather, we put it into climb mode. Perfect. We just center our heading back, and we are done. Now we have 55 miles to top of descent. Now let's have a look into the FMC to the sequencing of the waypoints for the arrival. So after Cyprus, we're gonna fly to Deeds and then warp. We have this, and there is also something missing here already here, because it says Miami International landing east turbojet, expect 250 knots at warp at 10,000 feet. So I'm gonna put this in, of course. And then we have Dolphin, but then we have also Vikov and Casti runway 08 left. So let's see, what do we have? I think ATC, if we would have ATC, they would vector us directly from warp to Vikov. So what I'm gonna do is just to delete Dolphin and close the route from warp into Vikov straight in. And then from Vikov we have the glide path of 3 degrees down to runway 8 left, which is an elevation of 68 feet, even though Miami has an elevation of just 9 feet. So that's good enough for me. And to go ahead with the preparation for landing, we just expect to use auto brake 3 and flaps 30 with some kind of standard wing correction. No, definitely not standard wing correction this today. Not today. Now we have like gusting 25. So let's see. Yeah, like plus 7 knots sounds good to me today. 094 course, and sorry, 094 here as well. And as a backup, just a Dolphin VOR frequency 13.9 down here. 113.9 and 113.9 here. Yeah, that's good. Perfect. Yeah, some CBs are showing up about 40 miles ahead, so it will be interesting. I forgot the seatbelt sign on for almost the entire flight till now, so very short cruise segment for the guys at the back to relax and go to the toilet if they need to. Just a quick captain announcement as well. Yeah, we are really approaching our top of the descent. It's just 10 miles, so let's assume that ATC clears us down to 10,000 feet again, and we just descend now. Altitude intervention, and what I forgot is just to put in some descent winds into the FMC page. Down here, the descent forecast, and we have this weather in Miami at the moment. We have this altimeter setting 2979, and let me put just some winds at flight level 240 and flight level 180. So we have 08020, sorry, 080 at 20, and 09023. This is pretty short route anyway, but it's good training to have this kind of short routes. Okay, it seems that we don't need any deviation, and we can just run through the descent checklist. So, descent checklist. Pressurization, landing altitude 0 feet, and recall checked. Auto brake 3, landing data VRF flap 30 146, and minima, I forgot to set it, for this localizer path vector 279. So let's go and set it to 79 barrow. Yep. And approach briefing completed. Descent checklist completed. So as I mentioned earlier, this is gonna be an RNAV approach flown with preferred method, which is LNAV and VNAV. So what the aircraft is going to do is just to follow a virtual path down to the minima using the VNAV function of the autopilot, and Today is not going to be any special from an LNAV VNAV usage, but sometimes when flying in low temperatures airport or into some other airport with a lot of wind, with maybe something like 25-30 knots of wind and very turbulent areas with mountains and so on and so forth, then we might or we need to adjust some altitude constraints into the FMC legs page to better match the real altitude and to correct the low temperature error and the wind error as well. But today is not the case. It's gonna be a smooth, hopefully smooth straight in approach for this RNAV 08 left. The weather looks good. Let's see if Miami has another 80s. Still the hold one. Yeah, still the hold one, which is good enough. 2979, the expected altimeter setting. We are 71.6 miles from Dolphin. And just to have a better overview of what we are going to fly, let's have a look at here. So better comprehensive vision. We are now inbound Deeds, and then we are flying to warp 10,000 feet and then direct to VCUV for this straight in. VCUV and then the RNAV approach, and for this missed approach climb 800 feet. Let's cross check it as well. Climb 800 feet and then turn left, climbing 3000 direct to Bravia, Bra, and hold. That's in the box correctly as it should be. I think we might enter back into the cloud shortly. In real life, we would have estimated a little bit better when we would have or would go back into the clouds again, just to give to the cabin crew a little bit of more information about how much time do they have. Usually what we are doing is to cling like this on off 20 minutes before landing, and actually we are almost there, like 20 minutes now. With this, the cabin crew are understanding that they need to start to prepare the cabin for landing, and then when passing 10,000 we are putting the seatbelt signs on. But of course there are some situations, like when the weather is really bad or there is turbulence at high levels, that we need to put the seatbelt signs on earlier. So in that case we need to talk with the cabin crew and agree about how much time left do they have to prepare the cabin before landing. It seems that our path is clear, quite unbelievable, but it looks like we are just overtaking a CB on the left, about 20-25 miles out, which is quite good distance from a CB, and then it looks like clear all the way into Miami. I'm continuously monitoring the 80s to see if there is any change, but now still same situation is reported. So just to be sure, I'm just turning on the signs right now. And after warp we descend directly to 3000 for this RNAV 8 left. Approaching the decel point, so now the path is going up, commanding a shallower descent. It should come in a few moments. Meanwhile, the speed will be reduced to match the 250 knots limitation below 10,000. As you can see, the path is going up, so the vertical speed is reducing, and as a consequence the speed will be reduced. Of course, we have this limitation at warp, 250 knots at 10,000. So now the speed will be reduced slowly, slowly, slowly. Hoping for the commanded speed to go back to 250. Hoping for that. Otherwise the auto throttle protection, yeah, now as you can see the auto throttle protection kicks in, accelerates to maintain 290. This is some kind of weird, but it should come. It will come for sure, because we have this limitation here, 250, so it will decelerate. Retard. Yeah, now it goes, as you can see, a little bit too close to 10,000, but it's okay. It's okay. The path, as you can see, is almost flat now, so we are not even descending. It's just a straight and level flight to help the deceleration. Which is good. And now we have about 24 miles to Vykuv to lose this 7,000 feet of altitude. It looks clear ahead of us, so just stratus or stratified clouds. Very good. And there is something pretty strange here, because as you can see in the map it says the top of the sun from 10,000 feet, which is Vykuv, but it's definitely not going to be like that. We need to descend now in order to be 3,000 at Vykuv. So whenever the machine is doing something that you don't like or you don't understand, downgrade one step of the automation. So from the LNAV VNAV mode, completely automated, linked to the FMC, we just hit level change and we take control of the automation itself. As you can see now, for example, the limitation of 10,000 feet has gone over Vykuv, and now we have a significant and in line with the profile vertical deviation indication. It says that we are slightly above the path of about 1,000 feet, as I was anticipating. So in order not to get even higher or farther higher, I am using some speed brake. Otherwise we will not be able to reach 3,000 feet by VCUV and start our RNAV approach. So the weather in Miami is still good enough for this approach to go. Still 8 miles visibility, so we are good for it. The only extra thing that I can do, since our descent point in the approach is CAS-D, I can take these, put it into the fix, and draw a 2 nautical miles ring around it. This is per my company SOP. So as you can see, the aircraft has already identified the type of approach we're gonna fly. RNAV 08 left with final approach course of 094, which is double checked, and we are 21 miles out, which is really good. We're still doing good on profile, still keeping quite high speed and recovering, and of course we need to go back to the profile in order to lose speed later on. Quite turbulent down here. I'm already starting to reduce a little bit speed. Yeah, we are, as you can see, almost on path, so it's gonna be smooth and nice. Due to turbulence, we're gonna keep a little bit of margin from the up speed or the flap speed at any time, just to avoid the risk of flying under our minimum speed. Perfect. Let's see if just retracting the speed brake allows us to keep our path. Yes, indeed. It's also much more comfortable for our passengers. Lights are coming on. Engine start switches to continuous. We can run through the approach checklist. So approach checklist altimeters. 2979 set and cross-checked, passing 4,100 feet. And approach checklist completed. We are approaching VCUV. We are cleared for this RNAV approach 8 left. So LNAV is already armed, and the aircraft will follow the lateral path. Checked. Vertical speed minus 600 feet will do. And now what we're gonna do is to start to configure the aircraft. So flaps 1, and we take the speed back. Okay, the glide path is coming, as you can see also here. So we go like that. VNAV, speed intervention, VNAV path, very important to monitor this VNAV path and not VNAV alt. Flaps 5. Yeah, about 185 knots will do. Unwinding speed, altitude to 300. And here we go, here starts the descent. Perfect. Let's see if it keeps it. It should keep it. Perfect. Very nice indeed. We have some kind of lights inside at distance. So now we need a runway heading 094. good is in this kind of conditions to configure ahead, be ahead of the aircraft, ahead of the game. Let's have a look at the go around sector. It's free, no CBs, so it's good options for our go around as well. Perfect. We have quite good visibility. Quite good, not perfect, but good. Gear down. Flap 15. And landing checklist to flaps. So, cabin call given, engine start switches continuous, speed brake armed, landing gear down and flaps, holding flaps at 15. Of course it's turbulent. Okay, we are passing now our final approach. And flaps 30. Keeping some margin. So complete landing checklist, flaps 30 planned, 30 green light, landing checklist completed. Approaching 1000 feet to be stabilized.
1,000 feet stabilized, Mr. Perch altitude set.
Okay, Mr. Perch altitude is actually not set, but it's gonna be hard for me to set a Mr. Perch altitude here, meanwhile manual flying, so excuse me if I'm not doing it, but I should set this Mr. Perch altitude. Let's do it right now. Should be 3000 feet. 3000, perfect. So now disengaging autopilot and wishing me good luck. Let's see.
500.
It's gonna be interesting approach. And of course in this situation I would command to my first officer or pilot monitoring to
400.
recycle flight directors.
Approaching minimums.
Okay, we have some kind of 23 knot side winds from the
300.
right.
Minimums.
Better to have a little bit of higher speed than low speed, but now it's becoming too a little bit
100.
too high.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, quite firm contact, but it's good. 2 speed brake up and 2 reverses, 51%.
knots.
60 knots. And vacating here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Miami. I hope you have enjoyed the ride. Sorry, the auto brake didn't turn out, so they were still on. Okay, here we are. So let's vacate the runway first. And then we'll see where are we. So let's just wait here and do our after landing flow. So starting up here, probe, off or auto. And yeah, that's good. Lights, steady, off, perfect. Auto brakes and trim back to 5 units. Here we are. And now let's have a look at our taxi route. We are at Lima 7. So you can have a better look here. Swoop, sorry. We are at Lima 7. So let's see if this is the right plate. Yes. Yeah, Lima 7, so we just cross runway 8 right, we take Mike, and then we go down November 4 into the Delta Southern Pier for the Concourse Delta 34 parking. So let's do it. Let's assume no traffic is coming. Brakes off and crossing. For crossing an active runway, we always turn on the strobe lights. In real life, what now is normally done is to cut off the number 2 engine and taxi on what we call engine out, taxi in procedure, but Xplane is not really good in simulating this, so I would burn a little bit more of virtual fuel than just taxiing on a single engine. So now turning to the right here onto Mike. Perfect. Ooh. Following the yellow line, please. Yeah, here we go. Waiting for November 4 taxiway. Guess now the rain is not so heavy, so we can just turn to intermittent. It's not as bad as it was in Tampa for departure. So that's good. So now we can also start the APU. So starting the APU, now passing November 6. And this is November 5, and then November 4, which is our turn. Here we are, November 4, clear left. And then we have to do a little bit of chicane here to turn right again. And take this whiskey taxiway. Actually, what I could do was just to take whiskey from the Mike taxiway, but okay, never mind. Just to make life a little bit more complicated. Good. So now the APU is already available and we put it on bus. Let's see when we need to turn. Not here, it's too early. We need to go a little bit ahead still to join this. Oh, sorry. Maybe here. Yeah, is there. We need to turn exactly here. To join the inside area of the Delta Pier or Concourse Delta in Miami. then what I would do, or what I'm going to do later on for parking, is just to self-marshal myself. Just because I'm not really good in parking aircraft in the simulator, and doing it without any marshal assistant would be even much worse. So I'm just doing some self-marshalling. Okay, let's go a little bit further. Delta 34 should be this one or this one. So let's see. Let's have a look. This is Delta 36, so Delta 34, here we go. Here it comes. Lights off. Turn. We have a marshal, but it's not very precise guy. Go straight, please, 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 go straight. I don't know why sometimes at very low speed it's struggling to maintain a straight line. Okay, now we have it. Let's go ahead. And this is what I call self-marshal. So I'm good on the line. Whoop. Sorry. Too much. Really? Yeah, I think so. So let's hope for the best. Okay. Parking brake is set. Number 2 is the first to be cut out. And then it's good. Signs off. And then we also have the APU already running, so we can cut off also the number 1. Number 1 to cut off. Then we go on the overhead. First officer is doing this flow, starting from the fuel pumps. APU is already running since more than 1 minute, so we can take the air as well from the APU bleed, and here we go. Stopping the chrono on the first officer's side, and then we have this, going back here and switching the transponder into into standby mode, and now we do the shutdown checklist. Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps 1 on, probeat off, hydraulic panel is set, flaps up, no lights, parking brake is set, engine start levers are cut off, and weather radar is off. Shutdown checklist completed. So here we are. What should happen now is that our gate is gonna be connected, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to work. I don't really know why, but this is really unfortunate for this simulation. But unfortunately, yeah, it doesn't seem to work, even in the auto mode or the manual mode. That's really unfortunate. Sorry for that. I think I parked wrongly. So now let's call some guys for the external services of the aircraft, and we should start to disembark our passengers. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, the jet bridge is not willing to collaborate with us into setting or connecting to the plane. I think I run a little bit too far into the parking. I should have stopped maybe some kind of 10-15 meters before, but okay. sometimes it happened also to me in real life, and the only way was actually to connect the pushback truck to the aircraft and being pushed in order to get the air bridge connected. What a shame. But okay, I felt really guilty for that. But okay, anyway. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the flight. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any question or comments, please just comments below. Please subscribe, thumbs up, and we will see very soon with another episode of the 737 series. I'm Flylawyer 737. Take care, everybody, and see ya.